there, Scott Hall, Moroso Performance, and thanks for joining us for this episode of Moroso TV. We're here at Maple Grove Raceway for the Division I opener, and what we're going to show you today is exactly how to mount and route your Moroso vacuum pump once you've purchased it. So walk around with us and we're going to show you exactly how the pros do it on their engines in a variety of different ways. Here's an example of a vacuum pump 22641 being mounted on a motor plate. You can see our bracket goes right onto that motor plate. Now in this case you can see that the line goes over to the driver's side valve cover. Because it's such a short distance from here to here, it's tough to plumb that. One of the advantages to this is that when the air is coming up over here, this large loop and height actually separates some of the air and the oil before the oil gets into the vacuum pump and builds up. Now in this case, you can see the line going over to the breather tank. Now these are one of the two options we have. Because this pump is sitting here with the logo facing up, the vane is naturally going to drop into the eccentric of the pump, building more vacuum where the vanes are out at an earlier, lower RPM. The only disadvantage is, obviously, oil is going to sit in the vacuum pump. Two great examples here of a vacuum pump mounting. First of all, you can see the pump is sitting here, logo out to the side. What that does is that exhaust is going out the bottom. It guarantees that all the oil that's sitting in this pump is going to make it over to the breather tank. That is definitely one way to make it work. Over here you can see they've actually got an air oil separator on here to prevent a lot of the oil from getting in over there from the get-go. Plus it's easy to unscrew and fill your motor with oil. This is a great example because this pump has great maintenance on it, not having all the oil sitting in it. It drains out automatically. So this one here we got is a 22642 vacuum pump with a style clamp that goes around the pump. You can see here again off the motor plate, shifted out kind of far. Now this breather goes all the way to the back of the car, and what's nice about that is it definitely prevents a lot of the oil from ending up back there and creating problems with the breather on it. Our vacuum relief valve is on it, and this one too is going up over to the opposite side valve cover. Now again, this thing is nice because the vanes are dropping down, making good vacuum at very low RPM. That's one of the keys you're going to get is when you mount the pump with the logo up, it could make a little bit more vacuum at lower RPM. Alright, the example we have here on a top sportsman car are two things. First of all, this vacuum pump is mounted much lower, being a tall deck, large cylinder head engine. Well, the convenience is it's got enough distance where you can put the fitting into the front of the valve cover on the passenger side. Makes it real easy and nice to work on. And once again, this exhaust port going straight down, it allows the oil to drain, so when he starts this thing up, it'll push that oil into the fuel tank. Okay, what we got here is a 22642 pump on a top sportsman car. Mounted off the motor plate, extended out a little bit to get his arrangement on the drive. Now what we got here is we've got the line going into the passenger side valve cover, but it's at the top with our 22635 fitting on it that's baffled. Now what's nice about going into a valve cover from the top is you definitely prevent a lot of the oil getting drawn up into the vacuum pump. That is typically the oil is sitting down around here coming off your valve springs. Up here, it tends to be shielded from pulling too much oil into it. Once again, this pump, logo up, vanes are coming down, and a nice breather setup going over to the tank on the front of his radiator support. Alright, we got a 22640 vacuum pump mounted onto the motor plate. This fitting is coming up and over and going over to the top. Now, this is just a welded in fitting that is probably not baffled on the backside. It's on top of the rocker arm, and typically this isn't too bad of a spot either. You're getting oil coming off the push rod tip coming down, but real nice clean setup, breather going down to the bottom. Okay, so in the video you just watched, we showed you the different way to mount up a Moroso vacuum pump on race cars. Obviously there's advantages based on how the pump is orientated that we discussed. But what we're going to do is show you exactly what we're talking about. Now right here in Guilford, Connecticut at our factory, we build and assemble all these pumps. And right now we got an order of 22 840s here that we're going to be able to use as an example. So on this table we got an order of 22 840 pumps being built. It's a perfect time for me to show you exactly what we're talking about, how the orientation of the pump matters to its performance. So here's the rotor open on the back side, and we're going to put a set of vanes in. And we put these vanes in through the back side. When we refer to the logo being at the 12 o'clock position, the advantage of that is that when you turn the pump, the vanes automatically drop down and will seal up inside at low speed. The disadvantage though is when you get some oil in here, it'll collect at the bottom and have no way to come out. When you go to start the motor up next time, it'll have a bunch of oil inside getting on the vane, and the vane won't come out centrifugally nearly as fast as it would have if they were clean. Now, by moving the exhaust port more to the 6 o'clock position, what happens now is all that oil drains out. But as you turn the rotor, the vane, unfortunately, will tend to fall back into the slot at lower RPM. So this is why at idle, it's always kind of tough to tell exactly how much vacuum you have based on where the vane position is in relationship to the logo. So you can see the pros and the cons of doing it both ways, but this is an ideal example to show you exactly what's going on inside. Well, we hope this video has not only answered some of your questions, but given you some great ideas exactly on how to mount your Moroso vacuum pump system. Now, unlike our competitors, who really only have one way to mount their stuff, you can see we have almost infinite ways of making this happen, and there are pros and cons to every way possible. That's why Moroso has such a large selection of vacuum pumps and accessories, and typically why we don't sell just one kit. If you have any questions, call the Moroso Tech Department or follow us on social media at Moroso Performance on either Facebook or Instagram.